Staying out of sight.
Hey, I saw that. What do you think you're doing? I don't want any trouble out of you.
Who the fuck are you? This ain't your alley.
Hey, Holehead! Could you not aim that thing at me?
Hey.
Hey! What are you doing here? This is our secret alley. Berta already pissed by those crates to market. Listen, that purple-toothed twerp had it coming. Not that anyone has proof. And not that it's any of your business.
You're going down!
Anyone else?
Hey, Ellie. When was it that you realized the board was crushing the life out of this colony?
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about the board? The machine of oppression?
Could I get another...
Well, new business turns up at last. Celia, didn't I tell you our new statistics-based advertising model would be a hit?
That you did, sir.
How can yield improvements of 26.7% not quicken the pulse? How can 32% cost savings not moisten the loins?
You've often posed these very questions.
Clear my schedule. This newcomer has a meeting with me. Celia, will you make a note of that for my self-review? Very generous.
Noted.
But not so generous I can't drive a good bargain. Now, who sent you? Rizzo's, perhaps? Or Auntie Cleo herself? Hiram? Why, he's probably still out at Devil's Peak. Not that he's had the courtesy to notify me, at any rate. But if you're here for him, I suppose that means you aren't here for Saltuna. Oh, a shame. I'd been saving a bottle of iceberg-aged whiskey for an occasion like this. I had hoped that livening up our advertisements with enticing figures would draw the other corporations back to our bosom, but it seems we're back to the drawing board.
Because he's scared to go it alone. You need the board to hold your hand and tell you everything's gonna be okay. Ain't that right?
Surviving alone isn't as easy as it looks. Thanks to the so-called hazard clause, Monarch has been cut off from the board's resources and protection for 10 years now. Now, we've kept ourselves in business by trading with individual corporations, but given the off-the-books nature of those transactions, such arrangements are precarious. Yes, freedom is a tempting ideal, but a rather costly paramour.
Can't imagine why you'd sneer at the notion of a free colony. Could it be because you're an agent of the establishment?
Not everyone likes the idea of hunting sprats in the back bays, Felix.
Your friend makes a good point, young man. I used to be young and idealistic too, but you can't run a city on
Well, Mr. Nandi here has a rather ingenious plan to get MSI restored to the board.
On our terms, mind you.
You out of your mind? You can't just go crawling back to your old masters.
Well, we can't continue to subsist like this either.
And if our advertising scheme hasn't borne fruit, then perhaps it's time we took matters into our own hands.
It's true, our Celia is an alarmingly competent middle manager. At any other company, she'd be wasted in data entry. The plan she refers to is a two-pronged approach, and the first part involves seeing Stellar Bay properly defended. With a Bolt 52 cartridge, of course. If you can get us what we need to rejoin the board, starting the Bolt 52, we'll be able to become one of the most productive and secure cities in Halcyon.
And you'll have a powerful ally on the board.
Why, one of the strongest defenses in Halcyon. An extremely powerful ordnance.
I was starting to get bored listening to you, till you said the phrase, extremely powerful ordnance.
It is quite the rush. I'll need to gather some supplemental materials, but I mustn't get ahead of myself.
You do tend to do that.
The Bolt 52 will be in the old arms building southwest of town, which used to be part of Stellar Bay before we had to move our walls in. And these days, it's overrun with marauders and raptidons. Do be careful. I've lost more than a few people to marauders and raptidons out there. Oh, and while you're at it, there should be a terminal in the arms building with some dangerous information. Perhaps you could delete it so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. What can I do for you? But that's terrible. What happened? But that means we won't be able to log their testimonies. If there's one thing I've been hoping to re-establish in Stellar Bay, it's proper documentation for legal matters. Always a shame when tempers get the better of good sense. Still, your intervention in the matter is much appreciated. Please consider this payment for your services. Then it's good that I keep such meticulous notes. I've asked myself the same thing many times, especially seeing as the legal mechanisms we employed were part of the board's own bylaws. Not intentionally, though that's technically true. For many years, this planet was home to as many corporations as Terra 2, but back then it was known as Terra 1. As you may have noticed, this planet has more than its share of hazards. And as the other corporations began to tally their losses, they decided to pull out. Our leadership at the time certainly wanted to, but there were others of us who saw an opportunity. The chance to improve working hours and conditions, to reform MSI from the ground up. It's humane, but it's also good business sense. Exhausted, sick, and malnourished workers are not productive workers. Even a cursory review of the data bears that out. Anyway, we learned of a loophole in the corporate bylaws that would allow MSI to claim ownership of the entire planet once the other corporations pulled out, creating the perfect environment for us to enact these new reforms. That's what I thought. But the senior executives laughed in our faces and insisted we'd be relocating to Terra 2 along with everyone else. Yes, some of us stayed behind, and as the most senior executive remaining, I ended up in charge of what was left of MSI.
Must have pissed off some real big suits to get stuck with that.
On the contrary, I wrote lots of very important reports on behalf of top MSI officials before I was able to achieve this position. I moved forward with our planned reforms, as well as our strategy to assume ownership of the planet. Yet not long after I renamed it Monarch, The other corporations dislodged us from the board and began an official campaign to paint us as lawless savages. I don't know. Everything we did was legal and above board. We followed their rules, and yet they still found reasons to declare us outlaws.
Your first mistake was expecting the board to cut you a fair deal.
I understand the sentiment, but if we can't rely on some sort of framework, then what do we have? I do think there's something useful in a governing body like the board. Something that keeps us from anarchy, but I dearly wish it functioned differently. Why wouldn't anyone? They own nearly all the resources and infrastructure in Halcyon.
Yeah, and once you go back to him, he'll own your dignity too.
If you can't beat him, might as well join him and reach into their pockets.
To be on the board is to be part of the colonial community, and being cut off means slow strangulation. I'm not a man to put pride before progress. If membership on the board can ease our hardships and provide us with opportunities, then that's the path I mean to pursue. Besides, I'm hopeful that additional leverage on our part will allow us a more equitable relationship. Oh, believe me, I've learned that much. But I'm also not going to leave MSI at a disadvantage. My hope is to maintain the reforms we've managed here, and who knows? Perhaps once we're restored, we could spread them to other corporations. What can I do for you? I see. And was his delivery of the MSI authorized greeting up to snuff? Well, that's excellent. I'll see that your feedback makes it into his review. What else can I do for you?
Greetings, and welcome to Monarch Stellar Industries, producers and purveyors of the finest salt tuna in Halcyon. What can I do for you today? Not at all. Mr. Nandi treats us all right and pays us well. I just spent most of my paycheck on Raptidon acid. Laws, no. Sometimes it's canid teeth, or mantis worm wings. Whatever Sebastian has in stock, really. So I can talk to him, of course. He doesn't get going about much else. Sort of the strong, silent type. Unfortunately, my apartment's kind of filling up with his stuff, and some of the neighbors are complaining about the smell. Would you? I'd appreciate that so much. Maybe don't tell him I wanted you to ask. Just that you met this really nice lady named Celia, and she seemed... Oh, Mr. Nandi's doing that thing where he breathes through his nose real slowly. I'd better get back to work. He doesn't talk much, but he's got this quiet intensity, you know? Like there's stuff going on inside his head that you have no idea about. Plus, he's got great legs. It's hard to find a man who doesn't skimp on lower body exercises.
Good to have standards, I guess.
I know what I'm looking for. Not in Stellar Bay. Everyone else who isn't taken either smells like salt tuna or they're my boss. Besides, a man with a good smile and a proportionate upper to lower body ratio isn't something to pass up. You think that's what I'm looking for? You're funny. Sorry, sometimes I get carried away.
I just don't get how you can be so casual about your integrity, Ellie. Way I see it, you're either standing up to the board, or you're standing up for him.
I know nuance ain't exactly your strong suit, but it's not that simple. Grow a few hairs on your chest and you'll see.
I might not have your schooling, but at least I stand for... or something.
And you'll fall for anything. That's how the saying goes.
I hear those rich people in Byzantium pay a handsome...
I always wanted to visit Stellar Bay. Taking the sights, the sounds, the... Wait, what's that smell?
Am I the only one getting hungry? We're doing it!
Have it! Woo! That had to hurt!
Not bad, huh?
Out of my way! Ha! That's the last of him!
Time for action.
Let's take him down! That's the last of him! Just like in the serials.
Think they left anything good behind? Time for action. Let's show him. Inside. Not bad, huh?
A visitor? What an unexpected surprise! Please, come in. Come in.
In my experience, any stranger this friendly either wants to rob and airlock you or sell you something.
Nonsense. Out here in the wilderness, we welcome all who come to our door. Now come in, make yourselves comfortable. Excellent. You've arrived at just the right time. My wife is putting the finishing touches on dinner. Please, make yourself at home until it's ready.
I think I just lost my appetite.
I've seen and made my share of corpses, but this is downright unsettling.
I am so glad I skipped lunch.
But what's this? You're tracking blood into the kitchen. Oh dear. You've been nosy, haven't you?
Quickly, my dear. He's getting agitated. We can't let the meat spoil.
Don't worry. We'll make this quick.
Here I come!
Anyone else? I got this.
Score one for Phoenix! Nobody messes with you, boss! Oh, that's the last of him. Hey, no problem. All right, here we go.
For boots? Get away! Oh, thank the Eternal. I'm Huxley. Hux if you're lazy. I'm stuck. My friends and I were scavenging here, and a Meta Queen showed up. Then Raptidons. It was a void-blasted mess. I ran in here, and, now get chased by raptidons, you let me know the rationality of your decisions. Phew. Thanks, mister. My buddy had a key, but I ain't heard him in a while. He locked me in here and took off. Probably got munched. So look for a dead guy, I guess. Or a rat. Maybe it's in a rat belly. Gross. Sure. Beats not answering questions. Huxley. I'm an iconoclast runner. The iconoclast runner. Fastest we've got. Ain't a raptidon on this void-forsaken hellhole that can catch me. Phew, sorry. Put me in a tiny room like this and I'm liable to flip. Not keen on tight spaces, you know? Oh, that'd be my people. Graham and Zora and Milton and... I really miss them. You gonna let me out of here? I want to get back to Amber Heights. My buddy locked me in here. I told you that. It was for my safekeeping, on account of raptidons wanting to munch on my head. But, I mean, okay, yes, fine. I get myself into sticky situations. It's just part of the life, all right? Sometimes you gotta hide in a trash can so you don't get eaten by monsters. Oh, neither was I. Who'd hide in a trash can? Gross. Probably. I don't know. When I try to read things, my mind gets to wandering about all the things I could be doing instead. Get me out of here! Oh, much obliged. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up!
Ah, phew. Thank you so much. It was getting all stuffy in there, and I was getting a mite lightheaded, and I think maybe I was gonna die. Now I'm out here, and I'm headed back to Amber Heights. But I ain't got nothing on me. How's about a heaping helping of appreciation and respect? That's true. Okay, fine. Here. Oh, sure, I'm a runner. I'm used to getting all dizzy and... Hey, who's your identical, slightly blurry friend? Thanks a lot, mister.
cabin on one of my first ships.
We gotta go exploring. I want to see some savages.
Velma seem out of sorts to you?
He's always cranky.
Put that away. I'd give you a friendlier welcome, but I'm up to my elbows in salt tuna guts. That he's got his load on and I'm stuck covering his shift? That's... Wow. I sure feel like an ass now. Oh, sure. Because Monarch's just teeming with experts in the finer points of salt tuna health. Still, it's good to know what happened to him. And that I ought to start looking for a replacement. Something else on your mind? Unless you're here to tell me he's agreed to do his job again, I've got nothing to say. If Caleb wants to keep this job, he'd better get back to it. I'm about ready to hire sublight contractors at this rate. Yeah, and did you miss the part where I'm working doubles to cover for everyone who decides not to show? I'm the one who keeps this place running. That money's mine, one way or another. Fine. Tell Caleb he and his team can have their raise, but I need them back here immediately. He's getting his raise. I don't see that we've got any more to say on the matter.
You ever get the feeling Max is trying to convert you?
I don't think I've ever... listened close enough to tell.
Why don't you grab a chair, sit a spell, and revel with us? Got an update for us? We can't afford to sit this out for too much longer. Know what I mean? Well, I'll be a Raptidon's dinner. Reckon I ought to listen to gossip more often. As agreed, here's your compensation. Ain't a lot, but I hope it shows how much we appreciate all you've done. Now me and my friends here better get back to work before Velma blows a fuse.